You have categorized some of these formulas. You have, for example, described the opening formula.
Yeah, I think the opening formula is a quite good example here, because some scholars have claimed that the formulas we have in the Icelandic sagas, they are relatively trivial. I think one scholar claimed that to be commonplaces for quite trivial motifs. And I think this is wrong, because even seemingly trivial expressions are charged with important meaning. And the opening formula is a good example here. Most saga readers remember probably that most sagas open in the same way. X het mother, or mother het X. And then we get information where he lived or what his family was, etc. But they open, I think that something around 70% of the sagas at least work with this, start with this opening formula. And this is, of course, might seem trivial to just give this information. But since we have quite fixed opening of these sagas, I think this is something important here. And we can compare it with the typical opening of a folk tale, Once Upon a Time. We connect that quite fixed formula with specifically the genre of the folk tale. And that means that when we hear this opening formula, we expect something which is similar to the other folk tales we have met.
Yeah, so it's an indicator for the reader.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it creates some sort of frame for understanding the whole story. And this, I would say, is true for the opening formula in the Íslendinga sögur too. When we hear this opening formula, we know this is a narrative work of a sort of with a sort of indigenous context, because the translated Riddarsögur, for example, they don't open in this way. Yeah. But it also immediately in the rest of the sentence we get the information, that this man lived there and there. Then we know, yes, it's a narrative about Icelanders. It's an Íslendinga saga. And since we know, if we know the tradition, how Íslendinga sögur usually develop, then we understand, okay, this will be this kind of story. So it arouses our expectations, and we will interpret every sentence we hear or read in the saga now in the light of this knowledge of the genre of the Íslendinga sögur. So it clearly has an important meaning.
Yeah. In Eyrbyggja Saga we find the chapter of Björn Breiðvíkingakapi, Björn the Breiðavik champion. And Þuríður at Fróða, who is the sister of Snorri Goði, she's married, and he visits her quite often, which arouses suspicion of her husband, of course. And it simply says that they sat talking. So that's the talk formula. We often find that when lovers are, talking, having an affair. The saga only says they often sat talking.
That's true. That is also a formula which we meet many times in the sagas, that they sat together talking, or often they sat together talking for a long time or the whole day or something like that. We have the frequency marked there too. And this is also this is an example of a formula which is clearly charged with meaning. In this case, actually emotional meaning, because in those cases we have this talk formula. We have good reason to believe that there is a mutual love between those, the man and the woman who is talking together. So this is an important formula in that sense. It says something quite neutral, that they were talking together, but since we know the formula, we know that this means that they are in love with each other. Actually, it can mean that there is real passion sometimes.
And the frequent visit formula, as you call it, that's pretty close to the talk formula.
The frequent visit formula is directly connected with specific distinct story pattern which we have in many sagas of Icelanders. And I think we have 25 such episodes where we have this story pattern. And Jan Jochans has called this story pattern the illicit love visit. And basically the story is like this: a man courts a woman, and the relatives of the woman usually her father or brothers, they're not happy with that. They ask the man to stop, but the man continues to court the woman, and then the male relatives of the woman tries to kill him, and then we have clash, and we have violence, we have killing. Sometimes the courting man is killed, and sometimes the woman's relatives. But this is the story pattern we have here. And it's very clear that this formula of the frequent visits, han vann de kvaumur sinar till, the man, and then we have the name of the farm. This is used it is directly connected with this story pattern. And this means, of course, that it's charged, this formula. It's very innocent. It just tells explicitly that a person visits a farm. But it's charged with very much meaning. It is charged also with the meaning of man courting a woman. But not only that, it is also charged with the meaning that this courting was unwelcome for the woman's relatives. And it's also charged with the meaning of humiliation and provocation. And it's charged with the meaning of violence and killing. So it's charged enormously much meaning, but this seemingly innocent piece of information that a man frequently visits a farm. And this means that when you first meet this formula in a saga, if you are an experienced saga reader, you can basically know what will happen now. You don't know who will be killed and how it will develop, but you know how the story will develop when you first see it. And this is something which the, so to speak, unexperienced saga reader, the person who does not know about the meaning of this formula, will completely miss.